Madam President.
The junior senator from Texas.
Reserving the right to object. 2 years ago, I authored bipartisan legislation sanctioning any company that participated in building Nord Stream 2. That legislation passed Congress overwhelmingly, and Democrats and Republicans overwhelmingly supported it. That was passed on the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. A year ago, I authored a second set of bipartisan sanctions on Nord Stream 2. That second set of bipartisan sanctions, again, passed overwhelmingly with the support of Democrats and Republicans in this chamber. That second set of bipartisan sanctions likewise passed on the National Defense Authorization Act. Today, the Democrats are objecting to passing sanctions on Nord Stream 2. What has changed? Two things have changed, Madam President. Number one, today Joe Biden is president and not Donald Trump. And the Democrats were more than willing to stand up to Russia when Donald Trump was president. But when Joe Biden is president, suddenly it is untenable for Democrats to stand up to Russia. But secondly, it's even worse, because what has also changed is that Joe Biden has utterly and completely capitulated to Vladimir Putin. He has waived the mandatory sanctions that this body passed. He has given a multi-billion-dollar generational gift to Putin. This strengthens Russia. Decades from now, successor dictators in Russia will reap billions of dollars they will use for military aggression against Europe, against America, and it will be because Joe Biden utterly and completely capitulated. So why, Madam President, are Senate Democrats objecting to a vote on Nord Stream 2? Because they cannot defend Joe Biden's surrender to Putin on the merits. They don't want to vote on it because it would be politically inconvenient for this White House that has undermined the national security of the United States and has weakened our allies. Right now, energy prices are skyrocketing in Europe because Joe Biden surrendered to Vladimir Putin. We have twice passed Nord Stream 2 sanctions on the NDAA. After Biden's surrender to Putin, we should do so again. And my Democratic friends who've given speech after speech after speech against Nord Stream 2, against Russia, should demonstrate they mean what they say and they're not simply interested in being political protectors for a Democratic president. Accordingly, Madam President, and I would note, by the way, in response to every amendment that has been called up, the Democrats have not seen fit to provide even a word of substantive argument in response. So I'm going to predict you're not going to hear a defense of Joe Biden's surrender to Russia. You're not going to hear any defense of Nord Stream 2. You haven't heard any substantive defense. You're going to hear two words, I object, because the Democrats are afraid of taking this vote. I believe we are elected here to represent our constituents and the interest of the United States, and we should have the courage to do so. Therefore, I ask to modify the request to include Amendment 4794.
Is there objection to the modification?
Madam President, I object.
Objection to the modification is heard. Is there objection to the original request?
My prediction was accurate, and I object.
Objection is heard.